Hello, guys. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you have been a subscriber, I want to say welcome again. And if you're new here, yes, you found the right spot for everything that have to do with, data professionals. So my name is Oluwayeti. I like to be called Oluwayeti. And today I have Jessica Ujo, who is joining me on this Q&A session. She has a very interesting background that I know that some people would need, to make their decision to transition into data professional. So be it like data analytics or, data science or data engineering. So I will briefly just, talk about her background. So she has a bachelor's in accounting and she's doing so amazingly well as a data scientist and even beyond data science as a researcher in that field. That's not something that you find very common. Just very few are able to hit this milestone. And I know one of the questions that I get is, do you think that, not having a tech background or a computer science background, I can still qualify to go into tech or go into the data industry? And the answer to that is yes. And yeah, I'm just going to be taking us through our journey so that you can draw some lessons, some approach, and how you can also go about learning. So, Jessica, do you want to introduce yourself to the audience?
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Jessica. I am a research engineer at Lapa AI. It's a South African AI company that is building AI for Africans by Africans. Yeah, so that's about it.
All right, thank you. So let me ask, have you always been interested in tech generally before you went for your bachelor's, or did that change during your time in university?
No, I wasn't interested in tech in any sort, even while I was in university. But I always thought those guys that code in movies were really cool. And because everybody makes it seem so hard, so it was more like a challenge, like, oh, let's even see what this is all about. Yeah. So I didn't have like a big interest in it while I was in school.
Okay, so what drew your interest to say you want to try it?
Again, like I said, I was really just curious about it. It's like you hear
Wow.
about tech every time, and then you hear about how it's so hard and just not anybody can do it and all of that. And I had like free time during my NYC and during the COVID. And I was just like, you know what, this has been a curiosity of mine. I always wanted to know how computer works better than it does. Not that I was interested in tech as a career. I was just like, okay, how does this system actually work?
Hmm.
And that was what led me. I was really just curious about it, and that's why I started for it.
Wow.
Okay, let's learn how to program because make people make it sound so cool.
Wow. Wow. That's really interesting. So you started with just learning how to code. It was not like you wanted to go into data science. It was just learning how to code first. Is that right?
Yes, yes, exactly. So when I started by learning how to use a Linux system because I
Okay.
believe that was the system you used to code. So basically
That's what
learning how
I'm
to
using
install
right now.
Linux. Yeah, exactly. That's like everyone says don't use Windows to code. I mean, no shade to Windows users. I'm sure they have their reasons. So yeah, I started by learning how to use the Linux system, command line, and whatnot. And then went into learning how to use Python because people say it was the easiest language to learn.
Yes.
Exactly. So I got a textbook from my friend because I'm really more of a reader than a video listener, and then you get a
Mm.
lot more content in a textbook than you would in a video. So I started by using the textbook to learn. Uh, yeah, so continuous practice with the practice exercise. I don't know if you know this textbook. The boring stuff about Python. That's the
Hmm.
textbook I use. I always recommend it because it is the boring stuff about Python, the basics of basics about Python. And once you know the basics about Python, you're basically good to go going forward from there. So
Yeah.
I was able to solidify my basics with Python with that textbook. Then I went forward to learning other things. How did I get to data science? So it was after I was done learning Python was what are you going to now use Python to do? Because Python is a language, it's not exactly like they use it for several applications. So it was okay, what are you going to use Python to do? So I explored different options from front end to back end. software, DevOps, whatnot, that Python is used to apply for. And the main reason why I picked data science, which is very naive, and I was totally wrong, or I found out later on that it's totally wrong, was that I thought it was similar to accounting, because accounting deals with recording and transforming data in the way that is usable by end
Wow.
users, which is basically what data science is, right? But they're not similar at all. That was a
No.
very naive thing, but that was, yeah, that was informed my decision at that point in time.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough.
So I mean, it
Okay.
felt like common
All
ground.
right, all right. Thank you for sharing that. Oh, I find that journey. I think, I mean, I've never really like l- I would say I didn't know this about your journey. So it's really interesting for me to find out for the first time, like how you just
Yeah.
get
I mean,
started.
it really wasn't like, I know a lot of people, because I also had discussions with people and they have a solid reason for going into tech, which unfortunately I don't.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Quite interesting. So, how I met you was through GMT, which is what we
Yeah.
call him at Andela. And GMT is one of the people that I respect. Like, it's someone I can call a mentor, you know. In when I was in Andela, it was one of those top guys, the very first cohort of
Hmm.
Andela. And it was someone that was highly respected, not just for anything, but because of his skills. So I remember his message when he messaged me on Instagram about you and what he said about you. And it's quite interesting to now relate what he said about you to your story, because he said you are very exceptional, that you are an exceptional talent, and he just feels like you need someone that will draw you, how will I put it now, that will draw you to, the peak of your skills, if you get what I mean. And that it wasn't sure that, where you were at that time could help you do that. So it's, for me, it's quite interesting that you would say that, for someone like James, he's not just anybody, you know, and giving that kind of testimony about you, it caught my attention. I remember when he reached out, it caught my attention. I was like, oh, okay, because, I know that there are some people, they are highly talented, but, sometimes they just need the push and the right person to show them, what to do. And also, it's quite interesting to just hear that. And I know you said you started during COVID, which was 2020. I hope I'm right.
Yeah.
So this is
Yes.
2024, 4 years after, like, you've moved jobs. We are working remotely with an international company from Nigeria. You have also been able to publish few research papers. You've been able to go to the Indaba, conference in
Yeah.
Ghana, and I think the last one, to present a research paper and even give a talk, I believe.
Yeah.
Right. So that's 4 years of really massive growth. I'm really impressed. You've done well. Well done. Well
Thank
done.
you.
So my question would then be, when let's speak it from when you went into like data science now, what resources did you use? How did you go about? Many people are confused about, I mean, I have a roadmap, but let's forget that I have a roadmap, to help people get into data science. What are the steps that you took to, get into data science after learning how to code?
Okay, so when decided on data science, I spoke with one of my friends and he gave me a couple of videos to learn, but it was kind of scattered in terms of you don't know
Hmm.
what to learn first and what to learn next. So I was kind of in that space for about a month, but luckily I saw an apprenticeship going on. I don't know how many people know Amoye yet. They were really
Yes,
big in 2020.
they
Yeah,
are
they
still
had this
doing
really
it.
big. Yeah, yeah, sorry, I still get their emails. So they had this really big recruitment for apprentices in 2020. It was like a group of people learning together. So they are the kind of roadmap of what to learn, like a syllabus, and then you learn one after the other, and then you
Hmm.
do the test. And if you're not part of the cutoff, they drop you off. We're playing to like 5,000. We're playing to in that
Wow.
Slack. Yeah, so
Wow.
if you don't meet the cutoff of every test after the topic, they drop you off. And then I kept meeting the cutoff, so I kept going forward. So that gave me some sort of stable and solid syllabus to follow. I mean, they have their faults in terms of it's not very detailed, but because I already know the topic, I can go to YouTube and
Yeah.
make use of other resources to
Yeah. That's how
learn
it should
deeply
be.
what it's
That's how it
about.
should be.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So, and then what I focused on then was learning the mathematics of these things before we learn the code, because that's sort of how the program is also structured. They give you the mathematics and then give you the code. Just like it wasn't very in depth, so you have to go forward to learn it properly with the internet
Okay.
and other resources. So yeah, so they gave me a syllabus to learn with, and I was able to grow. And then another thing which was also very instrumental in me getting my first job was that they did this project-based learning afterwards. So it was course-based at first, and then when we're done with the syllabus, they went into project-based where they grouped us into group and did a competition where they give us like a project to do, and then everybody presents and they score. So the whole board of judges and everything that we present to, and they literally score us on those days. And yeah, I think my group got first like 2 out of 3 times. So
Hmm.
that was very instrumental. The projects that we used, because we had to use GitHub and collaborate. So it taught us a lot about working in a team and working with people. So that kind of helped me grow faster and was able
Okay.
to give me something to present during interviews, because now I have projects on my GitHub.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really amazing. The interesting thing is, I mean, I have like a YouTube video which I'll probably link in this in the course of this video where I talked
Mm-hmm.
about coding boot camps like you should avoid. And one of the things I mentioned is that you should go for project-based learning boot camp. Like it's so important to do that. Like you can't just go for a boot camp and you don't really have at the end of the boot camp, you should be able to have like at least one portfolio that you can
Yeah.
present and you can use the ideas that you have used to build that one portfolio to build on other kind of data sets. So yeah, you should I mean you should probably I'm talking to my audience now. You should probably check out that video. It will help you to select because I've seen a lot of people waste money, go pay for this boot camp, and at the end of the day, they are still lost. Sometimes I'm like, how can you say you went for this boot camp and you still come out, you still do not understand basic things in data science or data analytics. You still do not understand how to find jobs. You still have, I'm really amazed. So that was even the reason by speaking with people, I was like, nah, I need to like do a video on this and help people, choose
I
a boot
mean,
camp.
boot camps are boot camps, but it depends on what you can get out of the boot camps. Because even in the Amoye team and the Amoye apprentices, you see some people that say they didn't get a lot of
Hmm.
they didn't get a lot from the apprenticeship or the program. You hear that, and I've met with some people that says it was a complete waste of time. So I think it really depends on what you can get from it and how much. Like I was relentless about it, because again I had free time. I was at home, I was doing anything, so I was kind of relentless about it. So yeah.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I mean, I also got into like Andela was a boot camp, so I don't even I'm always a pro boot camp person. Maybe because that's how I got fully into tech.
Yeah.
But I know that these days everybody is selling tech like pure water, left and right and center.
I
So
mean, you can't learn in 3 months, so just beware. You
louder,
can't become a professional in 3 months, please.
louder, louder, louder for louder,
Yeah,
louder.
even after I was done with the program, I didn't consider myself a professional by any means,
No,
whatever. I was still
exactly.
a total beginner.
Exactly. Like they tell you, learn this in the one that is flying around now is cybersecurity. Learn this in
Oh
some
no.
yeah, learn this thing in 30 days and then you get a job. I'm like, why are you guys just deceiving people? But it is what it is anyway. Hopefully, one of the problems of some of us is that we don't do research. We don't Some people are so lazy to even go to YouTube to search information, to watch videos. Sometimes I send videos, people will come and say, oh yes, I want to get into tech. Where should I start from? I send them video. They never come back to say, I've watched the videos. This is what I've gotten. What's next? They don't. They just want people to spoon feed them. And in the means of waiting for someone to spoon feed you, you always see yourself, running into
Mm-hmm.
issues and just finding yourself in the wrong hands. But anyway, let's go back to the purpose of the video. Thank you so much. So, was it from that intention, from that role? So, let me just say to the audience, I mean, it's not everybody. I know Amoy, I even shared it on my community. I think sometimes last month they had like another cohort, they wanted to recruit another. And in fact, one of the community members reached out to me because she got into it and she was just asking about what I think. I said, I've never been a part of it, but people don't even search information. I had to go and help her Google online, and I knew that somebody must have written about their experience if this is not
Mhm.
their first cohort. So I just helped her do that work, and I was like, yeah, this is how you find information, and I sent it to them. But for people who not always get into a boot camp and maybe they have a 9 to 5 and they are not able, maybe most boot camps you need to be like present. I would advise that you check the description of the video for a roadmap where I've listed like the topics you need to learn and the resources to them and the project you should do after each topic. So I mean, the way the roadmap is done, that is listed in like is it ascending order now or descending order, or yeah, ascending order, how you should basically start the process of the each topic you need to take, and in the order that you should take them. So you should check that out if you are interested to self start by yourself.
Yeah, and honestly, the major thing for bootcamp is that they give you a structured way to get into tech, which this roadmap kind of also does. So that if you
Mhm.
have the topics and have it sequentially, you can always Google and get more resources on them
It's
as
just
to better understand those topics.
yeah.
Yeah, learn the maths before you learn the code. That's very important because the code abstracts a lot of the logic and mathematical reasoning that comes with most of the applications you use as a data scientist. But if
Yeah,
you don't know the maths, it's kind of difficult to properly
grow
apply the code.
and grow beyond a certain level.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. You will just be at a certain level. You will never go past it because there are some things that they are still missing. And in the roadmap, that's what I did anyway, was in the roadmap, they start from, because I was wary of scaring people with maths at the very beginning. So I started with the code part of it. And then towards the
Yeah.
end, and I'm like, if you've gotten to this stage, good job. Now you need to go rewind and go to the so I put some other links to like the math is the one that is explaining like neural networks, how they work, why CNN works better than RNN, all of those things, the maths behind back propagation, behind gradient descent, and all of those things. So it's
Exactly.
very, very important to do the maths. I think that's not something that, even as a data analyst, if it's data analyst you're going for, it's important for you to understand like probabilities and statistics, which is inclusive in the roadmap for data analytics anyway. So I think my next question now would be, how did you, so was it after the internship that you now applied to Okra, or how did you get into the position?
Oh, so Okra was honestly, I wasn't looking for jobs at that point in time. I was still thinking I'll go back into accounting after my youth service.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I think how the Okra starts. My friend told me about Okra. It was a new company then. They are just raised. So I did a bit of research on them, and they look interesting. I like what's the goal that they were trying. The problem they were trying to solve was an interesting problem that has not been solved in Africa before. So it was
Hmm.
already a team I wanted to be part of before I even applied. So I didn't actually apply because I didn't even know that they were recruiting for a data scientist role. What I did was I messaged the CEO.
Hmm.
Talk about bold move. I
Yeah.
messaged the CEO and I said, my name is Jessica. I'm a graduate of accounting. I just gave her like a mini elevator pitch
Was
and
that
she
on
read it.
LinkedIn?
No, it was on Twitter, funny enough, because I think it was blocked. Again, I already did my research on the company. I did my research on the CEO. I went to her LinkedIn page. I couldn't message her on LinkedIn. I think she had a
Premium.
private LinkedIn or something like that. Premium,
Yeah.
yeah. So I went to hunt her down on Twitter. I'm like, every tech person is on Twitter. So I went to hunt her down on Twitter. I found her, which was very lucky because like a month after she left Twitter. So that was a very lucky one. So I gave
I
her
was
a
just
quick
going to say,
elevator.
not every tech person is on Twitter. Oh. Me, I used to be on Twitter and very active, but I left it all. I think for me, it just became a place that was too toxic for me. I don't know, for some reason. It
Yeah,
just,
a lot of people complain about it
so I
too. Like
left.
he too, I think one of her reasons was something like that's why she left Twitter. Yeah, but then I was lucky enough to find her on Twitter. So I gave her a quick elevator pitch and she asked for my CV and I gave it to her. And I think she he linked the hiring manager, that's head of people. He CC'd the head of people in the email, and then that was how the interview process started essentially. So messaging her didn't get me the job. It got me to the hiring process. So the only stage I skipped was the application. So it didn't get me to the job. I only skipped the application to the hiring process, which was interesting. So yeah, so we went through the hiring process. Again, they were particularly impressed with the fact that I had projects and I had an active GitHub page. Yeah, but then I wasn't the only one because again, I later found out that a lot of the MOA guys also applied. So it was a competitive role essentially. I'm I think what made me stand out was my experience interviewing already because before NYC, I was looking for internship roles in accounting. So I'd done several interviews. Literally from my last paper, I was going for interviews and tests for internship roles in accounting. So I had some experience interviewing. So I'm guessing that's probably what made me stand out, or maybe not. But yeah, but again, I was hired from that process.
Wow, wow,
Yeah.
wow. That's bold move. I love it. And I mean, I always tell beginners who have done the right things, like you've built your portfolio, you have an active GitHub page, to do cold emails to CEOs. So I always tell them, go to LinkedIn, go to there's TechPoint Africa, they always post about people that are raising because that's where you find new startups. I
Exactly.
always tell people, go to TechPoint Africa, look at their I think they do that in weekly of talking about, oh, this company just raised, this one just raised, and all of that. Check the
Yeah.
people that are
And then
raising.
check if they have a data science team.
Exactly. Sometimes they may not
Yeah.
even need a data scientist. That's the interesting thing. They may not even realize that they need a data scientist sometimes. However, when you pitch yourself to them and say, oh, I love what you're doing, I love this company, this is X and Y and Z that I found about this company, and I believe, data can transform, because I know there are some companies that they don't have some roles, but they say, oh, if you think that your role can serve us, reach out to us. So there's even nothing wrong with saying, pitching, how you be a valuable, asset to them as
Member
a
to the
startup.
team.
So that's something I always tell, people who are new to do. Like, try speaking to startups.
Yeah.
If you don't know the startups, go to blogs that talk about startups and find their names there and go to their LinkedIn page or wherever they are and get yourself across to them. Pitch yourself, so
Yeah, like
that
basically make
works.
yourself visible. So there's several ways you can make yourself visible, not just speaking
Okay.
to startups. You could have articles. So I see a lot of people documenting their learning journey. Talk about the projects you're building. Contribute to open source. Just make yourself as visible as you possibly can. I didn't say go and be ranting on Twitter because a lot of people do that, and it's not very effective, to be honest. So yeah, make yourself as visible as possible, and I also say learn the art of interviewing because it's honestly a art. I wouldn't say I got the internship role because I was the smartest or that. Again, I was coming in with 6 months of learning or less than 6 months of learning, if I'm being honest. Yeah, so I wasn't the most experienced. I wasn't the most qualified. Yeah, but when you know how to interview, you know how to present yourself and advocate for yourself better.
Okay, I was muted. I agree with that. Interviewing is an art. Even me, I've learned it. In fact, interviewing in Nigeria is different from interviewing in the UK. It's
It's
different from it's really an art. Even me, I'm still like learning the UK version of it.
same here. I'm still
Interviewing.
general learning the act. I won't say I'm pretty good because I've got so many rejections also.
Wow.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
honestly. Okay, so thank you for sharing that. The last piece is the research part of of what you do, because I know outside of your 9 to 5 work, even before you joined the current company, you found yourself like in research and publishing research papers, speaking at AI conferences like the Indaba, for instance. So how did you get to that other side of research work? And what were the things you put in place to thrive in the research world?
Okay, so how did I get into research? I'll have to go back a bit. So when I started this first internship job with Oka, it was very hard. It was very, very hard. I didn't know what I was doing half of the time. So it was a learning process where I had to keep learning. So basically, I had to be on my feet learning every time. After a while, uh, I was, yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to put this straight. So after a while, I was kind of looking for what more after data science. As then I was already doing data science and data engineering sort of at Okra. My role was already getting a bit solidified, and basically I was looking for what more can be done. And I've been hearing about research in AI, and I think that was around the period ChatGPT 2 came out. So that really exposed me to okay, what research actually is and how it applies to our daily life. How can it move from being research to being the product? The way ChatGPT came in and everyone was wowed by it, basically. But how exactly I got into research, I was introduced to a researcher as a mentor, and I told him about my research ideas and how I been wanting to get into research, and it kind of put me through, gave me some communities to join. So I joined the Masakan community, which is a research-based community focusing on NLP for African languages. And I was able to join a research project. That was my first research paper, Masakan used, and I was able to see how research is being conducted and being done. And I think almost simultaneously, when I was working with the Mastercard News, I also had an idea that my mentor also helped me with. Yeah, so we worked on the paper How Good Are Large Language Models together, which was as I then felt like a very naive idea. That oh, okay, ChatGPT is out, everybody's evaluating it. Let's see how does it even work for our languages. Like, can I chat with it in Yoruba, for example? Which was basically where it started from. Can I chat with ChatGPT in Yoruba? And I saw that we couldn't really chat with it. So it was like, okay, let's evaluate other languages on that. Yeah, so that was how my research, or that was my first research paper. Again, I say lucky, I was lucky because as I was joining the research paper, I was joining it with my first research paper, I was joining with my first group research, and those people got accepted into the African NLP in ICLL. I got a DI funding to go for the conference, and that was where my research journey started. So by attending the conference, I was able to meet more researchers. I was able to connect with more people that helped me to solidify my journey better, helped me to streamline the journey better. I was able to collaborate, meet people, and that's also where I met the CEO of the company I'm working for now. So yeah, started from from hearing about research to wanting to do some research to meeting the right set of people that put me through how to go into research. Yeah, I think one of the other questions, this was how I entered research.
Yeah, I think you answered brilliantly. Like, what are the things you put in consideration? And I think, so did you kind of try to, how did you find like the person that introduced you to this, like, let's say someone is a data scientist right now and they want to go into research, what should they do? What should they do to
Oh,
be
okay.
lucky as you are? What should they do?
Again, my journey is kind of different because it really started from wanting more than my current job or more than what my current job could offer. So then I remember I was applying to Google and several other ambitious, I'd say ambitious places because I knew I was nowhere qualified for those places, but applying regardless. And then I was messaging people on LinkedIn. Like when I applied for a role, I look for people that are in that team and I'll message all of them. Yeah, I was code mailing people a lot. So I met one of them finally responded. He was in Lagos and we ended up chatting. And then he says, because he was a data analyst, so he says, okay, based on my role, let me introduce you to this person that's just finishing his master's. He's part of the big names in research communities. So that was how I got to meet my mentor that we worked on paper together. Yeah, so that was how it was for me. Started again from wanting more code mailing people and wanting that's why I say connection and networking is very important because it doesn't know where it will get you. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that was my own journey, which is quite different from someone that's wanting to be in a research space. So if you want to be in a research space, I'll say join research communities. That's the best place to start because they kind of streamline the transition process for you. And then they work on projects that are quite group heavy. So you have a lot of people that you're working with, and it kind of help you understand how research is being conducted and how research is being done as a whole,
Okay.
which was where I started from. Yeah, so
Okay.
there are a lot of research communities. There's Black in AI, there's Masakan, there's a lot of research
Yeah.
communities that do actively do research on various
Yeah.
aspects of machine learning.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's I can really relate to, getting how you like got into research, because for me it was I started with Udacity, funny enough, because then there were not even boot camps or somebody running internships. So I started with
Mhm.
Udacity, and once I finished the nano degree, I wanted more as well. I was like, how can I apply my skills? And then I think that was when I fell sick and I went to the hospital and they did my and one thing with my brain, and I think is even something I need to start practicing, is that when I see a problem, like I'm already thinking like, how can data solve this problem? Like that's me. When I see a problem, I'm not saying every problem will be, the approach to it will be data driven, but that's really how I think. And from it has helped me to like bet, although most times I don't even end up doing some of this project, but my head is always full of many project, many project ideas. And it's because of the way I think when I see a problem, right? And I went to the hospital and
Yeah.
they said, "Oh, I have to wait for my test results," and I was in pain. I was like, "So I can't get drugs." They were like, "No, I have to wait for the test results," and it was for malaria. So I was like, from there, I was like, "How can computer vision solve this? Can we have images that are taken with smartphone, and we can train a model that can detect presence of malaria parasites?" That was how I really started. And I spoke to my mentor about that, at the time. And he was like, yes, it's a project that is possible. Let's find data sets. Because I mean, data collection for that kind of project was costly. So we had to like find data set that exists and all of that. How can we use pre-learning model? In fact, I didn't even get data at the time I was submitting the paper, because I mean, it was just really hard. But just submitting the paper, proposing my idea, like if we find the data, this is the idea that I'm going to, this is the architecture I'm going to use to solve this problem, got me to, be accepted at Women in Machine Learning conference, which was collated with NeurIPS.
You.
Yeah, at that time, that was 2017. And I mean, I was even surprised because that was I didn't even know what I was doing like that. It was just my mentor guiding me and all of that. And then I submitted and I was accepted. And after I got accepted, Black in AI reached out to me and was like, "Oh, we would like you to present the same paper at our conference." And at that time, I was even a bachelor. I was doing software engineering at Andela, and that was how I found myself in California presenting my my poster presentation to people who, and they were really like, I didn't even know that it was a fantastic idea until I started getting feedbacks from people who came to look at it. And in fact, people were asking. It was a very interesting conference for me because I realized the potential that I had, because people were asking me, like the white guys were asking me like, what university, because everybody was associated with one
Everyone
university.
was a master's or PhD
Everybody was doing
student.
masters or PhD. So they were asking me, so I'm a software engineer. So and I
And
said,
honestly,
I
that's
look
a
like,
privilege.
what are you doing here? How did you now come up with this? I'm like, oh, I'm a software engineer at Andela. Like, I'm just a software engineer, but I have interest in data science. And it was there I started getting advice like, oh, you should pursue a graduate degree in this. It seems like without even going for a graduate degree, you know what you're doing, so just go for it. So it was that time I started testing more for, oh, I can actually go for my master's degree in AI and stuff like that. And it was when I came back from that conference, I started applying to schools, and then by the next year I was I was already flying out of the country for my master's degree. And I mean, the journey has just proceeded from there. And it even helped me when I finished my master's degree, because by the time I finished my master's degree, I got like a job offer before I even finished to work as a research assistant at a university here in UK. So that was even what brought me from Italy to UK. So sometimes we do things we don't even know where to head to. We don't know the outcome. We don't know, how those things are building blocks to where we are going. But it's about, giving it a try. And I always say the best of people you see out there, they are not, it's because they've chosen not to be lazy. They've chosen to be curious about what they are doing, their work. They're choosing to look at things from the lens of their work and be able to like say there's more to what I'm saying, there's more to where I am, like Jessica said. And I think that thing is the quest for knowledge, for growth, is something that is very, very vital. Like recently I started this
Yeah.
100 days of computer vision on LinkedIn. And in fact, it has been so like I didn't even know that many people were interested in things like that. And I've seen many people pick up like they they baiting and say, oh, I also want to do like 100 days of something and learn and improve my skills. I have a job. I can just say, well, and I do like computer vision a lot in my job, but I was like, there should be more to what I'm doing in my current job. And I've learned a lot. Like even though I did like a major in vision and perception during my master's degree, and I've been working in that field. I'm learning new things that I'm like, wow, so this exists. So it's
Yeah,
it's
the
it's
thing
a
about
field.
AI,
Yeah, go on, please.
this
Yeah.
is the thing about AI is that the learning is never ending because a very rapidly improving field, and it's
Yeah.
one of the most researched fields these days. So there's always something that comes up. So you really can't slack on learning and staying
Yeah.
abreast. But
Yeah.
also to kind of add to what you said, because you said you first started by seeing a problem and trying to solve it. So one thing I'll say is to do research, do what you're interested in, do
Hmm.
what catches your eye, do what you're actually interested in, follow your curiosity. Like for me, I was very interested in ChatGPT when it came out. But even before ChatGPT, I was doing a side project. Again, side projects are very important, but they help you to explore other knowledge that you don't kind of use in your work. So I was doing a project. It was an ambitious project that I never put out at the end of the day because of the rules of Twitter and whatnot. But I was going to take spaces. I don't know how many of us know Twitter spaces. Then I was going to create a transcriber for it where you can transcribe spaces into text and then export it to PDF to whoever the user is. It was kind of a side project. So I was using Whisper to translate or using GPT to format the text and whatnot. So I was already making use of these tools before ChatGPT came out, which is again from the same company that made Whispers and the Fake GPT 2 and whatnot that were open source. Yeah, so when it came out, I already had background knowledge of what this thing does, and when it incited the public the way it did, it caught my curiosity, and I knew that this was going to be one of the future of AI in the world. So it really caught my curiosity. I wrote an article about it. I was using it multiple times. Everybody that knew me that period got tired of me because I always just talking about ChatGPT. Have you tried it out? Have you used it? Try these forms? What the? Basically, I was very curious about it. So when the idea of research came, it was a no-brainer that I wanted to evaluate how it does on our language because I've already been using it and I thought it was really good too. And I thought it'd be cool if I could speak pidgin to it or if I could speak Yoruba to it. I thought it was gonna be cool. And that was where my research idea basically started from. So again, follow your curiosity and follow the problems that you are interested in. Because if you're doing something you're not interested in, it's just going to get kind of tiring for you.
Yeah, I agree. Following what you're interested in is like, yeah, it's very, very, and sometimes people may say, I don't even know what I'm interested in. It takes a lot of, some trials.
Yeah, it takes trial and error. Because I
Yeah.
don't know if you remember when I was doing product management. Yeah, so again, when my quest for more outside my work led me into several
Can
pockets
never,
of knowledge.
can never be
No,
me.
it honestly led me into several pockets of knowledge because I got my role 6 months into it. So I wanted to just ascertain that I am meant to be here. It wasn't by mistake. So I decided to try other aspects of tech to just see if I like other aspects or if this is something that I really want to do, which was data science and AI, if that was something I really wanted to do. So I tried several things. I tried a bit of cybersecurity. I did DevOps a bit. I did a lot of Microsoft certifications. Yeah, which I later got. I went into a bit of product management. Basically, I was just exploring other things that caught my fancy to just make sure that okay, this AI is actually what I'm interested in. So after I
Interesting.
tried a lot, I was like, I'm not really feeling it like that. I
Yeah.
went back to AI, and that's when the side projects and research started coming. Because okay, how can I improve my skills in this field that I now want to do? Yeah. So again, side projects are very important to help you to grow and explore other opportunities that you're not currently doing at work.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Not doing at work. I like that. Yeah. 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 I feel like, sorry, go on.
Because like work, the thing about work is that you're using tools that are meant to basically you're using tools that are basically being used as work. So
Yeah.
they've been started and they've been used at work. And most times you don't really have much controls of the tools that you're
Yes.
using. You're solving a particular type of problem at work most times. So it's kind of diversify your knowledge So you're not just able to solve one problem. You have to go into side projects and maybe open source resources, a lot of
Yes.
community resources to help to diversify your knowledge. So you're not
Mhm.
just good at one thing, you're good at several other things. It kind
Other
of makes you
things.
more marketable and employable, essentially.
Yeah, yeah. I agree with that. And I think that's one mistake that I made in my previous, like, yeah, I'll call it, because I mean I'm rounding up my current role to a new role, to a new company. But I think that's one of the mistake I made in like my current role. Although I was really learning, I think because it was a startup, I was learning a lot that I could not even take on side projects. Like switching from doing ML ops was something that I had to learn on the job. Doing NLP, like we had to create a chatbot. So I had to learn, like me and NLP there, we are not even friends at all. So I just felt like, I'm learning here already. So I didn't even want to take on like too much things. But when things got a bit relaxed, where I felt very comfortable, like I could do MLOps, I could create like, Dockerized containers and push, do model monitoring and all of those things. And so I then decided, okay, let me go back to like computer vision. And I think one thing I'm excited or like looking forward to for my next role is that it's not, although I hope it won't be boring, but it's something that I have to do with more of statistical modeling than like modeling with
Mhm.
like deep learning, all of that.
Okay.
So I'm going back to like things like probability, the statistical analysis approach of like creating models, like basic statistics modeling, not like deep learning or neural network and all of that, which is something I've been used to. So in fact, even though I'm like, I think I may be bored, I took it on like, yeah, you've not really mastered this side of machine learning, and it's not, bad for you to like go into a role that will afford you that. And once you feel comfortable, you can start doing side projects in like your deep learning and all of those things. So I feel like for anyone who has gotten like a 9 to 5 job, um, I think it's compulsory that you always have a side project that you're doing that is
Yeah, but
helping
like
you learn things
get good
outside of
get,
your work.
do
Yeah.
get good at your job first.
Yes,
Honestly, get
definitely.
good at your job first. Again, I was learning a lot in that role. It was my first role. I was learning a lot. The growth was massive. That's where I learned data science. So that's where I learned data engineering. I was doing a bit of ML ops here and there. But again, after a while, I felt a bit more comfortable enough to now start doing side projects. But I first got good at my role before I
Definitely.
went to the program.
Like
So
I'm
that's
not
very
even
important.
planning to do anything like in my next 3 or even 4 months. Like, nah, it's to
Yeah.
so that they will not tell you to come and be going. And it's not because you are not good, but you're getting too distracted by like this is not even the time for I already know like this is not the time for side
Exactly.
projects and
Yeah,
all of
side
that.
projects can be distracting.
Yes.
Yeah, and then it's not all the side projects that have to be successful. Again, that more of learning.
Hmm.
I have a lot of failed side projects. I have a lot of side projects
Hmm.
that sits in my computer and never
You
made it
can
to
see
pick
that
up.
I am doing like this. I'm looking at we have one that we And guess what? I'm already working on, although the one I'm working on now is just personal. Like I'm just doing it alone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because the thing about side projects is that learning quests. They don't necessarily have to go out to the public. They're an opportunity for you
Yes.
to learn, and they just kind of expose you to a lot more than what you currently know. Because like doing a project by yourself is a lot more taxing than when you're doing it in a group and you have people to rely on and not. But when it's just yourself, it's just an idea that you're trying to build.
Yeah.
You learn a lot more. You learn faster and you go
Yeah.
faster.
Yeah. I think for me it's the faster. Like I was just like, nah.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you start bringing people, even like it sometimes it can slow it down. And based on the kind of how I'm so hungry for the discovery that I want to make from the side project, I'm like, I just need to like
Exactly.
do it alone. But when I'm stuck,
Mm-hmm.
like I have like experts like that I go to. I'm like, oh,
That
this
you
is what I'm
can
trying
meet.
to do. I'm stuck here. What do you think I can do? And then I go back and do it. Not like I'm bringing like anyone in and all of that. But I mean, I think it's just finding your balance that's really matter in all
Yeah.
of this. Yeah, yeah. I think it's fine because you still want to do side project with people, especially if you don't have a job and you need to prove that you've worked in a team before. Then you want to go for like open source project and side project with people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very
So it
important.
depends on yeah. I know that's something that as a beginner they want to look out for. Like, have you worked in a team before? So you can't just be doing side project by yourself alone all the
Yeah.
time. You also want to like be in a community where you can work together in a team. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think this would be my last question. So
Okay.
this one is about, you know, you've landed a postgraduate study without, don't let me call you postgraduate, so that they do not think that it's postgraduate like that, like master's
It's not
degree.
PhD.
Yeah, well, you've landed a master's degree, admission. Tell me about how you went about it. Like, how did you get a how can you have like a bachelor's in accounting and then you are getting a master's degree in I guess is it computer science
Yeah,
or
computer
in
science.
computer science? How did you convince them to do? How did you how what did you do? What did you do?
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
so I always knew I was going to go for my master's. I just didn't know whether I was going to be data science or computer science. I went
Hmm.
for computer science because I feel like it's broader, and I just kind of needed, or I wanted a certification that solidifies my role, or that kind of just solidifies my career, such that
Yeah.
when you go into interview, you don't have to overly prove that you don't have to overly prove yourself because now you have a certification that proves to you, which is I know a lot of people say tech companies don't need certifications and don't need BSc or masters or whatnot, but it kind of makes it easier for you to prove yourself when
Yeah.
you have than when you don't. Which was why I decided to go for my masters. Yeah. So what was the process like? Um, so yeah, what was the process like? So when I decided to go for my master's, I started by researching what country I wanted to go to and what schools I wanted to go to. I knew I wanted to go to Canada because of immigration rules, basically. So I looked at okay, what are the top schools? If you know the CSI index, I went CSI index, checked the top schools in NLP, and I was able to see after the first 3 or 4 schools, which I then sent an application to. So in applying for masters, your major thing is do you convincing a professor or assistant professor that they should take you under their wing, which is very important because many people apply for masters and don't try to look for a professor. Basically, like they call them supervisors. They don't try to look for supervisors before they apply, which is one thing that you should always do first. Yeah, so the supervisor I applied to, the supervisor that I got admitted to was someone I've also worked with, which is why research and group research is very good. During the ICL, I met David Adelani, who was interested in my paper evaluating ChatGPT and basically large language models on African languages. It says this is a very important paper because it gives the world a benchmark on how these new technologies
Yeah.
are working for African languages so that we are not left out in the innovation. So it was very interesting in the project, and then we ended up working on new versions of that paper together and submitted it to even bigger venues than African NLP was.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so again, we've worked together. So he has known my skills, he has known my level of competence, he has seen my consistency and my dedication. Basically, I've put myself if I even got into the master's application essentially. So when again look for a lecturer and work with people outside of your workplace because those are the people that help you. And most people that are also saying that got admission into these big universities, they've in one way or the other worked with supervisors or people that are in that school that they applied to. Yeah, so that's very important. And if you don't get the opportunity to work with a supervisor, message them. They are always willing. They're always looking for students, and they're always willing to hear from you. So
Yeah.
message them, send them a cold email, introduce yourself, and hopefully, if you can do this a year before you apply, maybe ask to collaborate on some of the projects that they're working on. That
Yeah.
would enable you to prove yourself before you even get to the application gate. So it's
Yeah.
just how you're able to prove yourself to potential supervisors and professors that really kind of matters because they're the ones that employ you. Like for research masters, is this a supervisor that kind of employs you rather than the school itself?
Hmm.
Yeah, so again, prove yourself. Then when you're also applying itself, make sure that you have a very good statement of purpose. Now, the statement of purpose, the statement of research is not to tell them about your dreams as a child, because I see some people tell them, oh, it has been my dream to do XYZ. They don't really care about your dream. That's the honest truth. It's your statement of purpose is meant to introduce yourself and prove yourself. Prove, okay, why you worth my time? Why should I give you this role? Why should I give you this? Because MSc in research is like a job. Why should I give you this job? Why should I admit you? Which is what you're trying to prove. And um, Yeah, so be clear in, and it helps when you have previous projects, previous roles, previous publications. Because
Exactly.
before I applied, I had publications in like three venues or so. I had
Mm-hmm.
two group projects and one first author project. So those kind of helped my case.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those are the things you talk about in your statement of purpose. How those projects are, how you're able to collaborate with people, volunteer activities, speaking engagements, things you've written, things you've talked about, basically demonstrating knowledge of the course or knowledge of the role that you're going for.
Hmm.
Yeah, so statement of purpose is very important. And again, which is something that is very underrated. I know we are saying BSc in accounting, BSc in accounting, but I did get a first class in accounting. So if you're still in school, try as much as possible to come out with a very good grade because it does help your case a lot. So even if, because even it also influenced my first job. So even if I didn't have a BSc in computer science and whatnot, by coming out with a first class, I'm able to show them that okay, I'm dedicated in whatever I'm doing. I'm smart
Hmm.
enough to get this role and to understand it and to learn and to um what's name to learn and to
Excel.
basically provide value essentially. Exactly, so that's what getting a good grade does for you. It speaks for you before you even get to speak for yourself.
Okay.
Yeah, so those are, I think those are the things that contributed in me getting in essentially. So yeah,
All right. Thank you for sharing that.
that was
That
a
was,
very long that was
yeah,
a
yeah.
very long answer, but I hope I covered everything.
Yeah, I believe you did. I believe you did. Yeah, because I mean, I had my background in computer science, so and interestingly, I had a tutu because me, I was not even serious in school. Like when I went to do computer science, like it was not what I found in university that I thought I was going to find. So I kind of lost interest in my first and second year. It was at my third year when we started doing like major computer science courses. That was when I actually picked up and I mean at that time it was already late because first year and second year I was just playing around because we are doing physics, chemistry. I was like,
Exactly.
what's this? So I was not I lost interest in the course. It was 300 level that I picked interest again, but at that time I had messed up my
It was
grades.
kind of late.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if it was
yeah. Like
based
I
on
know
my
a lot of people. Yeah,
yeah.
as I know a lot of people say school is not important and they kind of put it to the back burner, especially those that are learning tech. So because they believe that they're already learning it and maybe working in it, they kind of neglect the school aspect, which they probably have their reasons. But I'm a big believer that getting a good grade in school speaks for you before
Yeah.
you even get to speak for yourself. Like most of the people, most of the mentors I've met, most of the people that have taken a chance on me is because again I got a good grade at school, and then I was a chartered accountant before I finished. Like while I was
Mm,
finishing school, I was coming out as a chartered accountant. So those things already distribute shows them some kind of qualities that they want to see before I even speak.
yes.
Essentially, so
Yeah.
yeah, getting a good grade is very important.
It's very
Don't
it's
mind whatever Twitter people tell you. If
you
you
know,
can, if you
me that
can,
had
if you
bad
still
grade,
can, put in
I
the
knew.
effort.
Yeah, me that had bad grade, I knew what I faced before I got a master's degree. I'm telling you, my eyes saw shege. My eyes, even though like if it was based on my year three and year four, I would have probably, maybe not a first class, but a 2-1, probably like a high 2-1. I would have come. But the first and second year, because of my loss of interest in the course and everything, it just messed things up. And I was rejected when I was going for my master's degree. It was a war. Like I was rejected many times, like from several universities, I was rejected. And it was even when I went for my master's degree, I started realizing that my colleagues in the class, they were first class students. Like it was like if you do 100% of my classmates in my master's degree, like 95% of them were first class students. So it was even more like the professor took a chance on me, and it was not
Mhm.
because like it looked beyond my degree. It looked at like because I had like published research work at that time, and I was already a software
Exactly.
engineering. I was a software engineer. So in terms of like coding, it was not a problem. And then I think what was the other thing that it looked at? Oh yeah, they do interview. So for my own master's degree, they do interview for their applicants. Like
Yeah.
you do a proper interview. I can never forget the interview, and in the interview they asked me questions on like binary search, on like, because I was going for a master's in AI and robotics. So they even asked me some things in robotics, and I didn't do robotics at all in my bachelor's. But before the interview I had gone to like read some basics of robotics and all of that. So they asked me questions. So it was more like, uh my bachelor's did not prove much to them, but they gave me a chance to
Yeah.
prove myself with my research work and my experience, what I've done so far. And on the interview I was able to also answer the questions, perfectly. In fact, at the end of the interview, the professor just said, "Oh, I'm looking forward to meeting you in Rome," and all of that. So that was really how it was. And towards the end of
Yeah.
my master's degree, I was very strategic because I already knew that this grade that I was bringing for my bachelor's was nonsense. So when I was coming for my master's degree, I already set my eyes like, I have to have the best of the grades for this master's degree. So by the time I was starting, even though it was very rough, especially with my robotics courses, I made sure that at least in the AI courses, I was having like the top, I was having like cumulative, like that's when you have like 30, 100, 101 over 100, that kind of thing. Like you exceed the score, that kind of. So I was making sure that I was at least close to those scores, and I was also doing like research projects here and there. So by my I think by before the 3 months to the end of my master's degree, I started reaching out to professors, and that was even how I got like my very first research role in the UK. So I was reaching out to professors because I wanted to move to the UK. So I already knew that Italy was not my final goal. So I was looking forward to like moving out of Italy to UK. So I was reaching out to professors here in the UK. In fact, it got to a point that this particular university, I had reached out to like maybe five of their professors, and I think three of them were willing to take me. But they had like is it a chair, somebody that is a, what's it called, like a supervisor over the professors. So they were reporting to that person, and they've told the person, like three of them have apparently, like maybe when you have students coming, you have to report to someone. So at some point, Professor Mark had to reach out to him because he was the head of the professor. He reached out to me and said, he said, "Which of my professor do you really want to work with? Because several of them have been coming to tell me that he reached, like I don't know how he got my email. He read that to me, and it was, I was like, what spread fast. So everybody, like, it was like I really disturbed them, that they were like, who is this girl? That kind of thing. Like, and for me to even get their attention, it means that I have put up a strong portfolio, a case study
Application,
of
exactly.
application. Because the guy reached out and was like, "You've been reaching out to my professor. Who exactly do you want do you want to work with?"
Yeah, yeah. And just to add to what you're saying, because I know I've emphasized getting a good grade in school, but if unfortunately you can't or you did it doesn't mean like it's not the end of the road,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
you
yeah,
just
yeah,
said.
yeah,
You
definitely.
get several opportunities to prove yourself. You just have to put in more work
And be
to prove
prepared.
yourself. Yeah, and be prepared. Have a
Yeah,
strong portfolio,
yeah,
get a good job, have strong projects and whatnot, and then your applications be considered. It's not,
yeah,
yeah, getting a good grade speaks for you, but without getting a good grade, you have to speak for yourself.
yeah. You have to. You
Essentially,
definitely have
you
to.
have to,
You
you
definitely
definitely
have.
have to prove yourself and speak for yourself. And kind
Yeah.
of to backtrack, also, I wasn't a chartered accountant even in school, please. I was a qualified accountant, which means I finished my ICANN, but I've not yet certified. Just to kind
Okay.
of correct that, because that's very important. Like that's a big gap.
Yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and again, you also have to be strategic about things. Again, I didn't apply in 2020 when I was just learning. I didn't apply in 2021 when I was still an intern. It wasn't until I felt like I've gotten a good number of experience
Hmm.
and kind of solidified myself a bit in my role and had some publications. Basically, I had a good portfolio. I had work
Yes.
experience. I had publications. I've worked with several other people that I could apply to. So have a strong portfolio before you apply, which is what I'll say.
Yes.
A strong
Yes.
applications before you apply.
Yes. I've seen many people make that mistake. And I think it's because of how social media and these new boot camps that are rising up and all of that. I think it's just how they sell these things to people. They make you feel like,
Yeah,
you just do 2 or 3 months inside this thing, you are ready to fly and all that. And unfortunately, I wish it was so. right?
I wish
Like
so.
it makes me very upset, especially when you see someone who doesn't even know much arguing with you and feeling like they have the information and all that. And I'm like, okay. In fact, recently I had to tell someone miracle no dey tire Jesus, because I didn't know what to say. I was
I
like,
mean,
well,
it's good to be ambitious and also throw your net as much as you can. Again, I was applying to Google less than 1 year into the this. I was applying to Google. I was applying to senior roles
you
too.
never can
But do you know
tell,
that
right?
you might not get it? You never can tell. I mean, you can apply without being very sure of your application. You can apply, but just be comfortable enough with rejection that if you get rejected, you're also
Mm,
fine with it. Yeah, you
mm,
do know that, like when you don't have a strong application, I believe you know that you don't have a strong application, and if sometimes even when you have a strong application, they don't accept you. So
honestly,
it's give or take, to be honest. Yeah.
honest.
So be as delusional as you want to be. I say the Lulu is the Lulu. But also when reality doesn't meet those delusional expectations, do not be surprised about it. Also, that's just what
Yeah,
I'm saying.
yeah. Thank you so much, Jessica. Like this has been, even me, I've learned like quite a number of things. Yeah, thank you so much. No, I'm serious. Why are you laughing? You don't believe me? Please believe
My
me.
mentor, please, please,
Please,
yeah.
no, please
Yeah. Also,
believe me.
another important thing is get a
Okay.
mentor. Okay, she really helped me in my growth. In as much as I was exploring several options, she was also there to push me and be like, "Oh, do this like this, do it like that." And then when you have questions, having somebody with more experience to talk to really helps your career a lot. Like now, I have a lot of mentors that I'm answering to, and it honestly helps my career to grow faster than you can, because mistakes that they've made, things that they've seen, they tell you about
Mm,
it, and you are able to adjust yourself and make decisions better. So yeah, as
yeah.
much as you can, get yourself a mentor. And again, I was listening to, I don't know if you saw them or somebody that saying mentors don't really like they don't want someone that just wants to take. They want someone that also wants to give, and also
Give.
someone that is really dedicated and willing to learn. And they kind of sense these things. Like I know, like sometimes you think you can hide it. They don't. They actually do sense there. Like it sense when someone is not serious. The sense when someone is serious. The sense when someone is
Yes.
not dedicated. The sense when someone is dedicated. So
Yes.
you have to also work on proving yourself to them, not just
Yes.
going up to them and be like, "Oh, be my mentor." Because I've met a lot of people that are just like, "Oh, I'm trying to get to data science. Mentor me," and I'm like, "Okay, where do I start from?" So yeah, show workings, basically evidence. You need evidence, basically. Yeah.
I was looking at the time for this, but maybe I'll do a thorough video of how I've been able to secure mentors that have been dedicated. Like when I say dedicated mentors, like if I cough, they are like there, you know. And I think one of the things that have helped me is the fact that I come like I don't know anything before a mentor. Like I don't come and do, even though they know they I don't know how I can put it. Someone who is a mentor and who is smart
Like
know
basically,
what
don't be arrogant.
yeah,
Be willing to learn. I think
to learn.
that's where we're going to.
Yes.
Your
If
willingness to
I put
learn. Like
off,
if you come with your own ideals, with your own biases and whatnot, it might be difficult to get through to you. But when
yeah.
you're living, like when I went met Yeti, I saw that they're doing more data analysis than data science, which was fine because I'm like, okay, I also don't know data analysis, so I might as well stick around and learn. And then later on, I saw, oh, it's actually not just data analysis. They actually do a lot more things. She teaches Python. She learned a lot. I think I got my first talking experience with you on women in data science and machine learning. So again, be willing to learn. When they ask you to mentor people, also you have to mentor. Like basically, be willing to be amendable, essentially.
Yeah, I agree. It's even funny that you saw that you thought I was doing it. That's quite interesting.
Yeah, even notice I'm very quiet in the group at one point. I was just like,
Oh
okay, let's see.
my god. Oh my goodness. I mean, I dance around the level of my mentees. So
Yeah.
that's what I did, because a lot of people were not in your level. It's probably you, and I mean I don't want to mention names, but there were like probably two or three of you. They were in that level of advance, but most of people were still like, even till now, I'm still mentoring with data analytics, but that's not what I do at all. Like I don't do that. I don't do analytics at all in my work. Like I do call computer vision and recommendation engine and whatnot. Like that's what I do in my work. But I am able to be flexible because it also help me learn. If you get what I mean, in terms of how I mentor people. Like if you just want to learn Python, I can mentor you in Python. If you just want to learn analytics, I can. If you want to go deep into data science, is something I can do. So it's probably because I danced around like the level of the majority, if you get what I mean. Yeah. But it's quite interesting. I didn't even know that I was perceived. How many people are perceiving me as a data analyst?
No, I knew you were the data analyst because
Oh my God.
GMT had already introduced you, but you just felt more like you were doing data analysis more in the group than
Yeah, it's because
um
a lot of people will prefer to go to data analyst first and then they now come to data science.
oh
That's what
I always recommend that also.
yeah,
I
which
always
is
recommend that.
which is I feel like when you go through like my data analytics kind of mentorship and all, if you want to become a data scientist, you'll be able to like fly on your own. Like you'll be able to know what to
Exactly.
do and fly on your own because you've had like a very solid background already in analytics. Yeah. But yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I've enjoyed this talk. I've enjoyed this talk. Yeah. I've enjoyed this talk.
Thank
It's been
you.
extremely, I'm sure that people are going to learn. People who decide to be patient because when they see one, it's already an hour plus.
More than one
When they see
hour.
one, it's not that they're saying, yeah, can you come? But
Exactly.
hopefully the people that get to the end will see how valuable it has been. I think I'm just
Okay.
yeah, I don't know if you have any other thing to say before we like
I'd say stick with the program. Just stick with the program. It sounds like it's gonna be hard. Sometimes you feel like you're not making a lot of headways. But as long as you're consistent and you're showing up, it will kind of show. It will pay out in the long run.
mm,
Yeah, it will pay out in the long run. Stick with the program. Be consistent. Show up for it. If you want to learn, if you want to switch jobs, just keep learning. Keep following your quest for knowledge, and it will get you somewhere.
mm. All right. What's your favorite book before we like what's your favorite data science book?
Um, automate the boring stuff about Python. I always like anyone that comes to me, oh, I want to learn Python. That's the first thing I'll tell you. Go and read the book. Yeah, even if it's just the first part, because the second part is more systematic and stuff. But the first part about learning strings, variables, flows, yeah, so it's really learning the logic behind the flow. Once you understand the logic behind the flow, you can basically understand any other thing in Python. All the for loops, the while loops, all of that. Once you get it properly, you can get any other thing in Python, to be
Another thing.
honest.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Thank you
that's the
so
basics of
much.
it.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much,
Okay.
Jessica. All right. Thank you,
All right.
everyone, for joining. Don't forget to like share these videos to your friends, to like, and if you have not subscribed, subscribe for more. I'll be bringing more people to speak about this, and I'll see you in my next video. Ciao.
Bye.